Evening. Thank you everybody for tuning in into the much anticipated event. Welcome to the very first online TEDx event in Abu Dhabi, TEDx Youth at Bright Riders School. I am Aditi Goel, one of the hosts for today's event. We here at TEDx aim to spread ideas worth sharing as we create a unique gathering where you will get to hear a suite of carefully prepared talks covering a wide range of views of people from different disciplines. As you may already know, the theme for today's event is hope, a passion for the possible.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theatres, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
Thank you for that, Aditi. There is no doubt that this year has proven to be challenging for humanity, with all the nations working together to overcome this pandemic. At this point, everyone is grappling with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. With this event, we aim to make one message clear, that even when things are grim, there is always a ray of hope shining through the clouds of despair. We would like to thank our team for helping us make this event come to life, even after we decided to shift it online. Today, we can guarantee that every single one of you will have been energized by hope by the end of the stream. This event will foster learning and inspire provokeful, thoughtful conversations. without much ado, we move on after that delightful performance by Ashish on the piano to create the right ambience at the beginning of the live stream. For starters, today's event will proceed according to a predetermined schedule, which you can also refer to once again on our website, TEDxBrightRidersSchool.org. And now, let's get this event started with our very first speaker. You might have heard several voices on the radio, but there is no mistaking this voice, which will most certainly bring a delightful smile. Yes, I'm talking about none other than RJ Vikrant. Mr. Vikrant has been a radio professional for more than a decade now. Today, Mr. Vikrant will be talking about how creative thinking can be means to achieve hope and how one can implement this. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome RJ Vikrant.
Thank you so much for watching the speech. I hope you liked it. Bye-bye. Just kidding. Hi, my name is Vikrant. I am a radio jockey with Karak FM in the UAE. I am in this profession from last 13 years and my profession requires me to be creative every day, every hour. And today I am going to tell you how to think creatively. So the question is, why do I need to think creatively? And the answer, according to me, is, see, we all want to be liked, loved, appreciated by everyone and be popular, right? So if I ask you this question, in fact, I'm going to ask you this question you cannot say no to. The question is, do you want to be liked and appreciated by others? Obviously, your answer is yes. But if your answer is no, then I do not like your answer and I do not appreciate you because that's what you wanted, right? Kidding. My only answer to this is hope. My hope to become famous, to become popular. And that's what keeps me going every day. So my one golden rule is accept being bored. Because unless you think you are bored, you will not be able to think any other way or new way. Our everyday life is so normal, and by normal, I mean we do things in a set pattern, which is either told to us by someone or we have seen growing. And we never try to change or challenge the way we do things. Let me share one such incident of my childhood, school days. So, from childhood, I was this attention monger kid. I wanted to be famous, I wanted to be popular. But, all studious students, all studious kids are the apple of the eye of, the teachers and the students. So, I thought to myself, should I study really hard and become the topper of my class so that I will be liked and be popular? Then I thought, one, it's really hard. I cannot do it. Second, it was really tough for me. I was, a below average kind of student. So I had to put on my creative hat and think something different. And I wanted to do something so that it gives hope to other students that if he can do it, we can do it too. So I started doing mimicry of Bollywood stars and I started learning magic, basic magic from a book I bought, and I started showing those tricks to my fellow students, my classmates. And believe me, within 2 to 3 weeks, I was really famous. I was the talk of my class and then of other sections, and so much so that I was in demand. I was called to the principal's office, not to perform or to show magic tricks, but to get scolded by the principal for distracting other students. But I got what I wanted. I was on the map and I inspired some other students to do so. So, peace, I was there. And now I am here in the radio industry. And trust me, I get bored every day. It is good because that is how I get creative ideas on my show. So there is a segment on my show, and this segment is, I think, almost on everybody's show, in different channels as well. It is traffic update. It's a very basic thing. I just have to look at the map and tell people where there is traffic jam, which route they can take, and which route they can avoid. I got bored of it. I did not want to do that. So what I did, I created a character. So there is a character called Sonu on my show. He's this little kid who's always on the terrace and his mother screams at him. For those of you, you might not understand, but you'll get the tonality of it. I'll just show you a little bit of it. So there's this mother who says, "Ki, Sonu, traffic ka hal kyun na bata raha, log aa gaye." So that's the mother. And the Sonu goes, "Mummy, bahut zyada traffic hai." So in this conversation, the mother is asking, please tell the traffic situation outside, and Sonu is explaining the traffic. And every day they have some, conversation, funny thing happening. So that is how I got the idea, because I got bored. It is very important. I'll tell you one more example. There is a friend of mine. I know her because we are from the same industry. She was my colleague in my ex company. She got bored of sending resume, of CV, we call it. So she sent her CV to my ex company and she just got selected without even an interview or audition. How? She sent her CV in an audio format. She made a song in which there was details about her personal life, her experience and everything. And the selectors got so impressed by this audio or the song she sent, they just hired her because they saw her creativity level, her editing skills, her voice. So there was no need to audition her. She got selected. So the golden rule and the key, which I still believe every day, is accept being bored, because unless we are bored of taking the same route again and again, we will not be able to explore other new ways of doing things. So I will tell you to please accept being bored, and the day you will start doing that, your creative journey will start. But that's not it. There is another thing, that is observation. We should always observe people, not just things. People, especially people. Why? Because they have their different quirks. Everybody has a different personality, some qualities which you can actually use for your future references, or maybe, for example, the other day I went to the doctor. I had some back problem. So the doctor was talking to me in his all medical terms, using the words like sternum and shoulder girdle and pelvic and I know what not. I was like, please talk human to me, please. So anyway, this stayed with me in my observational bank. And the other day I was reading a news about a doctor who actually changed his profession from being a doctor to becoming a DJ. I was like, what if my doctor became a dance choreographer one day? How will he teach dance using the same terms? So I was like thinking, and then this I did it on my show. How will it be if a doctor is saying, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. You take your skull right, left, shoulder girdle up, sternum, pelvic girdle round, and gluteus maximus out. That's a dance step. Please ask your doctor next time you do that. So observation, it is very important, and you never know where you can use your observation, in which particular incident or situation it might help you a lot. So start observing people around you, and that is another thing which will help you to start thinking creatively. Yet another thing. It's not over, guys. I have few more things. So, next thing is very important, which is say no to normal. I will not do a normal thing. In the sense, if I have to, for example, if I have to take a particular route, I should think that, is there any other way around I can reach to the same destination using some other route? Not driving wise, I'm saying, to a particular conclusion. To, for example, if I have to write a letter to someone. Nowadays we don't write though, but if I have to write a letter, how differently I can do that? Should I use a different kind of page? Should I use a different kind of letterhead? Should I cut pieces out of newspaper and make words out of it? Should I cut letters or alphabets out of magazine and then paste them? It will be creative. That is how simple creativity is. All you have to do is you have to think in a different way. I would also recommend one tool, that is imagination. Our brain is a world in itself. It's like a movie theater. It's like a stage. You can do anything on that stage because nobody's watching, right? It's your stage. And for example, if I say ice cream, I'm sure you're imagining ice cream. If I say snowfall, now it's snowfall there. If I say mountain, you can imagine these things, right? So our brain is, as I said, a theater in which any movie, any picture we can create. And creativity is like acting. You have to be the actor on the stage of your brain. So for example, if you are a guy and you are given a lipstick to sell, how would you do it? I don't wear them. You don't wear them. As a guy, we don't, right? How would you do it? This is when the observation part I told you about earlier comes in. In my office, I keep observing my colleagues. They generally talk about stuff they buy. Lipstick is one of the product they purchase, and some problems they face is like, so this is dry, this is creamy, this is light, this is bright, and I understood. It is a task to buy one lipstick for a girl. So you have to imagine yourself, you have to act, you have to become a girl to sell that particular lipstick. You will have to, of course, do some research though. You cannot just wear it. If you are daring enough, please do wear. I would recommend that. It might help. So imagination mixed with observation will help you ace that sales pitch. Also, guys, creativity is not just about being funny or being creative in your presentation. It is about hope as well. I'm talking about this particular situation we all are in today. Pandemic, this COVID-19. Now, scientists from all around the globe are trying to create a vaccine. Why I'm using this word create? Because there is no sure shot formula for this vaccine. They are trying to create, they're using their creative genes to come up with a solution which is giving us hope that one day we will be over this pandemic. So creativity definitely gives us hope. With that, I'll say thank you so much and I am done. And I hope you liked the speech and maybe you got something to learn from it. Thank you so much. This is Vikrant saying bye-bye. Thank you.
That must have inspired many, don't you think? Coming up is Amit Tuli, a person who is relatable on uncountable levels. He's an IT architect at IBM and a loving father of two. He may seem like your average Joe, but there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. Today, he is going to talk about how the unfortunate COVID pandemic has affected him and his family and how they managed to respond to this plague. Ladies and gentlemen, bring your hands together for Amit Tuli.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing safe and healthy back in your homes. My name is Amit. We are a family of 4 having 2 school-going children. Weekends are special because that's where we go outdoors. And school breaks are more special because that is the time where we plan for long vacations with our family outside our busy schedules. On the work front, I am an IT architect with close to 20 years of experience, and with my team of experts, I design and deliver the IT solutions for my customers. One aspect of my job is also to deliver trainings to the customers that I work with and some of my colleagues in my organization. So as you can see, my job requires a lot of human interaction as well as travel because of the work. Now today I'm with you to share my experience going through this pandemic. Let me take you back to March this year. Before the pre-COVID life, when there was a completely different routine, and when the lockdown was announced, we were all taken back by a sudden change in our lives, and of course none of us were ready for it. Now imagine a pre-COVID scenario where I had to get up early in the morning, dispatch my kids to school, and then rush through my morning breakfast tea and the breakfast itself, and then get ready for my office and be in office before 9. Suddenly after this lockdown was announced, there was a completely different routine. I found myself waking up late. I didn't have any need to wake up early again. Okay, I could just go easily through my morning routines and then work through the day and without moving an inch from my room, right? Working out of my comfort zone. So this was a very welcome change. I'm sure a lot of you also went through the same. And initially we all welcomed it wholeheartedly. But then, which wife would not like his husband making morning tea for her, and that too willingly? Yeah, I'm sure you will appreciate that. Well, then came the point where I started realizing that I have more hours available to me during the day, which I was not using. Okay, I was no longer spending time on getting ready for the office or traveling back and forth with my office, right? And more importantly, the time that I used to spend with my family over the weekends on, let's say, windows shopping or social gatherings, all of that time was back available to us. And not just me, even my kids, they were not spending time on travel, right? So the question was, were we really using this time as productively as we should have? This was the most important asset or resource that anyone can have, the time. But the answer to this question was no. We were doing fewer things in more amount of time. At this point, I started introspecting my daily routine. Although I couldn't go out for a walk, but I could introduce some exercises in my routine every day. Now, there are very useful apps and videos online, which could tell you the tips about how to do exercises, and you can start adopting them. But the problem was not that. You can bring the horse to the well, but can you make the horse drink the water? No. The same thing happened to me. Although I had access to the plethora of information and videos available, but was it good enough for me to stay fit? No. I kept procrastinating about starting this exercise. Maybe we'll do it in the evening, we'll do it tomorrow morning, or let's just wait for the weekend. That would be a good start. But this was just keep moving. And I realized the problem was I was not finding the exercise regime that I could look forward to every day. This has to be something that motivates you to do and that fits your routine, that fits your requirements, your body type, so that was the thing. Well, thanks to my family, we finally found a way to move forward, and I would say part of it was because they started cutting down on my favorite things until I became regular and punctual. We all learned hard way. Now, my kids also joined me, or you can say I joined them because they started doing much better than me. But we eventually helped each other to move forward. Slowly I started realizing that my daily activity targets were in my reach, in my control. I'm achieving them. And the fun fact is, when you do exercises, the body releases specific type of hormone. It's called endorphins. And the beauty of the endorphins is, the more the body releases, it makes you feel happier. It makes you feel better about your well-being. So you see the net result, you are motivated to do it again and more. So I realized that I have one less problem to worry about now because this has been taken care, and I felt the art of possible. Now here's my advice for the parents, especially with young kids. There are a lot of exercises, there are a lot of videos available online which you can start adopting, and a lot of them are so interesting that they engage the whole family in a more of a fun way, and not really those boring exercise routines which people don't look forward to. So I would really suggest you go and explore and start doing that. Well, here's the positive point for social media. It's not really bad at all. Engaging them in fitness was good, but slowly I realized it was not good enough. COVID lockdown had not only restricted me, but also them. And they were not going out in the evening to play with their friends or go for biking or activities which they used to do earlier. And they had those few hours back in their pocket underutilized. Okay? And slowly I realized that this problem was much, much tougher than I initially thought. I encouraged them, I persuaded them to adopt hobby of book reading. But books are boring. Okay, why don't we try some board games like chess and ludo and other stuff? But who likes these board games in current times when there are so many digital games available online? Okay, so it didn't work out, sorry. Art and craft is a good hobby. I think we should try that. But eventually I couldn't afford to see the piles of shredded paper throughout my home, and I started wondering what's going wrong. I'm sure you can relate to it that many of you have also grown up using these kind of hobbies in your childhood. But why was it not working with my kids? What was wrong in these time and tested methods? And the answer that I found was a golden hammer syndrome. I was going through that. Now let me tell you what is the golden hammer syndrome. So the golden hammer syndrome is about when you have a hammer in your hand, every problem to you look like a nail. And the only solution that comes to your mind is just hit the nail with the hammer. And that's what I was doing. I was not finding a solution which suited the needs and personality of my kids. Well, somehow we found the way. Now, that was a mistake I was making, like I said, and it had to be something that comes from within the child. And I started introspecting with them and found out that the thing that they were very keen to do was food. Yes, surprisingly, that was food. We are a North Indian Punjabi family, okay, and we love our food. I'm sure many of you have sweet tooth, but we have tooth for every type of cuisine. That shows the love for our food. Anyhow, now when you go online, you see a lot of chefs who are available, who have pushed their recipes, and they're looking for scapegoats like us to try out the recipes and give them the feedback and eventually give them millions of views. But we also took it as an opportunity. We started adopting them, and slowly what we did was me and my kids took over the control of the kingdom of kitchen from my wife, the current ruler, and we started experimenting our hands on newer and newer dishes, especially the fancier ones which we were used to have it in the restaurant. Now the restaurants are closed, but we still have the need, the desire. So we started trying at home, be it cookies and pastas and cakes and you name it. We tried that. Well, after some burned cookies or some undercooked food or over spicy food, we somehow managed to get there. And that was the moment where I had another brownie point for my wife. See, again the food in my statement, I'm sorry. The problem at home started getting in order. But what about work? COVID forced all of my team to work from home. We were used to seeing each other daily and working together in the office. The corridor discussion about new skills and learnings with other team members, they were part of our daily routine. But the COVID, it took away all such great opportunities as we all started working in isolation. In my profession, continuous learning and skill building are very, very important. But all the classroom trainings were suspended. A lot of our plans were impacted, or I would say disrupted, especially for the people who were planning their career development certification. For example, project management or architecture or some agile. Now, e-learning came our way as a boom, just like for our kids. It was the time for us to dust off our books, maybe digitally, and learn new skills. These activities were kind of sitting at the back burner, and we started bringing them back into the mainstream. When you get busy in your daily routine, you always find excuse to say, I'll start doing it next week. I completed approximately 125 hours of learning in just 3 months during the lockdown. And to give you a perspective, I used to spend this many hours, usually around over a year before the COVID. So that tells you how much focus we gave on learning during this time. And it was not just me, by the way. Many of my colleagues went through the similar transformation, and they utilized this team very productively by upskilling themselves, by going through some of these new skills, and as well as going through some of the certification, which boosted their confidence, which helped them build their eminence and really push them forward with their career going. Now, I do not look at COVID as a medical pandemic. For me, it was a reminder to all of us to focus on things which matters more. When I look at past, I see that the complete lockdown period is phasing out, is slowly passing. And it has changed me in many ways, which I'm really happy to share with you. The number one thing for me is there are always ways to do things which you really want to do. You can find excuses, but if you really want to do, I think you should start doing it. Number two for me was around every challenge that comes your way is actually an opportunity for you to try something new, something different. So do not look at it as a blocker in your path or blocker in your progression. Look at it as a new challenge, giving you a chance to give you back the confidence. The number three part that I would like to share, is the change really starts with you. It is easier to pass on the positivity through actions rather than just preaching. And the fourth one, the final one, would be the learning never stops. Okay, COVID made me realize the importance of learning and upskilling myself. In the new world, learning is going to be skill is going to be the new currency, and you have to be rich with that. I do realize that COVID has also disrupted many other things. For example, the students who were supposed to start their college this year, and I really wish that the situation start becoming normal soon, and I wish them a great career ahead. With this, I take your leave and wish you good health and happiness, and take care.
I would now like to hand over the podium to my friend Ashish, who will now be taking over.
Thanks for that, Aniket. Hi everyone, I am Ashish, and from now on I'll be carrying you through this journey. Many amongst you will certainly agree that even when things seem grim, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. And now it's time to hear something diverse from yet another speaker. This time around, it is none other than a student from our own school, a proficient speaker with a friendly soul and a heart of gold. The next speaker is an inspiration for many and will never fail to bring a smile on your face. He is actively involved with the Art of Living Foundation, has earned a gold medal in the IISC Public Speaking Conference, and is even volunteered for several humanitarian campaigns. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tanujj.
An undying smile, a confidence that cannot be shaken, and a fearless attitude towards life are signs of success. Quoted by Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of Art of Living. Good evening, it's an honor and a pleasure to share time and space with such a distinguished audience. I'd like to start off with an obvious assumption. All of us want to be successful, isn't it? Everyone out there. No matter how you define success, you could even have your own parameters of success. But everyone out there, from a student to a teacher, from an engineer to an architect, wants to achieve success in his or her field. Now, what I've noticed is that we judge our own success by the if-then rule of our lives. And this rule is a very prominent rule in our lives. Let me give you my example there. In my case, it is, if I get into Cambridge, then I will consider myself successful. In this lockdown, if I lose 10 kgs of weight, then I'll be the happiest person alive on this planet. So who put these so-called if-thens into our lives? We, right? So we are the ones who can remove them. Notice how it is always the tendency of our mind to postpone happiness by saying, if I get this, then I'll be happy. We're never happy now. So interestingly, many psychologists and behavioral scientists out there are doing research to figure out what skills does one need to be successful. So Stanford, along with many other institutes, came across and asked the people, what skills do they think are essential? Now, let me pose the same question to you. What skills do you think are essential for you to be successful? Now, most of you might come up with answers like decision making, time management, confidence, perseverance, etc. I've asked this question to many people, but interestingly, very few of them mentioned education. Just pointing it out. So, according to the study, the researchers came up with two sets of skills. The first set of skills was domain or academic knowledge, or your technical know-how. How much do you know about your subject? In short, your educational degrees and qualifications. And the second set of skills they came up was with these soft skills or life skills like decision making, time management, compassion, empathy, etc., which are so important and crucial to have. The next question which arises is, in what proportion? What percentage of your academic knowledge would you attribute to your real life success today? And what percentage of life skills would you attribute to your real life success? So what do you think it is? Is it more of academic knowledge or more of life skills? Obviously, it's more of life skills, right? 85% of the people thought that they are what they are today because of their life skills, and hardly 15% of them said it is because of their academic knowledge. As you can clearly see from this data, we can conclude that yes, academic knowledge is essential for your educational degrees and qualifications, but what really matters are these soft skills or life skills which an employer looks for in an employee. Now, unfortunately, in the education scenario, students like me, you, and many more, we end up spending a lot of our time, effort, money into acquiring academic knowledge rather than focusing on these life skills which are so important and crucial to have. So we talked about these soft skills or life skills, right? Where do you think these skills come from? I myself have tried what not to improve my life skills. I went to many coaching institutions, grinded on their training modules, but I didn't see the difference in me, which I wanted to see. Only to realize that these skills come from within. Of course, training can be given to improve and develop them, but these skills are inbuilt and are born within us. Where within us is the next question. Our lungs? No way. They are, so to say, originate in the most powerful place in the human body, and that is the human mind. Where is concentration? It's in the mind. Where is confidence? It's in the mind. Where is lack of confidence? It's in the mind again. So since the mind is a storehouse of so many important skills and talents within us, few questions arise. What do we know about the mind? How much do we know about the mind? When was the last time we were coached on how to deal with our own mind? Never at school, nor at your coaching institution, you are taught how to deal with your own mind. Let me give you my example then. When things aren't going my way, or when situations are not in my control, I become like a boiled up pressure cooker, about to burst at anyone, anytime. And I'm sure this is the case with most of you. So from this habit of mine, it made me ponder. We have always been told since younger ages to not get jealous or to not be angry. But have we ever asked ourselves, how do I not get jealous? Or how do I not get angry? Do you have the answers to these questions? These are the real questions which one should ask themselves. Now, since we want to get rid of such negative emotions from our systems and our mind, we need to understand the mind for it. And in order to understand the mind, I request you to do a small process with me. I request you to close your eyes for a brief moment. Now, since we are such intelligent, empowered, educated individuals, I request you to think about anything else in the world except a pizza. Yes, do not think about a pizza. With all your power and might, do not think about a pizza. Come on, you can do it. And especially a cheese pizza with your favorite toppings on it. I repeat, do not think about a pizza. Now you may open your eyes. What comes in front of your mind? Pizza, right? All over the place. Same goes with me as well. When I try not to think about my homework or my assignments, what comes in front of my mind is only my homework and my assignments. So from this experiment, we can conclude that there are certain rules to say which are followed in the realm of our mind. In the realm of the mind, what you resist will persist, and the stronger you resist, the more it will persist. Now, whatever I've experienced of life, I've observed that there are certain tendencies our mind has. The first tendency our mind has is that it always agrees or disagrees. Whatever I'm saying, you only have two options, right? To either agree or to disagree. And by the time I'm about to finish this sentence, your mind is already in dialogue with you, saying, yes, I agree to this, Or no, I don't agree to this. Or how is this even possible? Were you even aware of this process? For most of the people, it's a no, right? The second tendency is that our mind is like the bob of a pendulum. It's either drowned in the regrets of the past, like I should have gone to that party, or I should have done that assignment before, or it's either in the worries of the future. Like some people in the audience are thinking, when is this guy finishing his talk? I have an appointment, or I have to finish that work before the deadline approaches tomorrow. And the third tendency I came across was that our mind always clings on to the negatives for some reason. Now, from my life experience, I've seen people with 10 years of such strong friendship between them. But after a couple of days of arguments, they say, I'm done with you. This makes me ponder, how can 10 years of strong friendship vanish into thin air just because of a couple of days of arguments? Isn't it quite amusing? Now, I'm that type of a guy where if you come to me and give me 10 compliments, I'll be over the moon. But if one insult, what I'll remember is only the insult. This is quite amusing. So since our mind has these tendencies, it is completely okay and it's natural. But if we closely see, these tendencies are the ones which are really restricting us from success. So how do we free our mind from these tendencies and live in the present moment rather than wavering into the past or the future? How do we be in harmony with our own mind? Clearly, for some people out there, their own mind is their worst enemy rather than being their best friend. It's no surprise to me that mental health issues are becoming a cause of concern globally, and suicide rates are increasing rapidly compared to the past decade because people don't know how to be in harmony with their own mind. Even I've tried to be in harmony with my own mind. I've tried to catch hold of my mind. But I failed, only to realize that we cannot deal with the mind from the level of the mind. You can't tell your mind intellectually what to do and what not to do. Can you stop a thought before it approaches? No, right? But what if I tell you that there is a tool which lets you do that? There is a tool which lets you be in harmony with your own mind, and it lies right under your nose. It's your own breath. Kind of surprising, isn't it? Breathing is the most important function of human life. We can live without food for about a month, without water for about a few days, but without our breath, our existence on this planet is limited. I would like to ask you, what is the first act of our life? Most of you might say, it's crying, isn't it? But think again. Before crying, when you're born, you take a deep breath in. And what is the last act of our lives? When we are on the deathbed, we just exhale and leave this planet. So in between these two breaths, this journey or process called life happens. And in this journey of life, how come we don't focus enough on our breath? It is such an important part of our lives. Our breath is strongly connected to our emotions. Have you noticed, whenever you're angry, your breath becomes short and fast. And when you're calm and relaxed, like right now, you aren't even noticing your breath. So changing your breathing pattern will also change the emotions you feel. Imagine being a mood maker of your own life. Life becomes so much simpler then. Let's picturize it this way. Our mind is like the kite, and the breath is the string. If you know how to use the string properly, then the kite flies high and does wonders. But if you don't know how to use the string properly, then it's a disaster. So the problem here is the mind. The solution is the breath. And success is just a byproduct of this. Now, a major hindrance for anyone out there in achieving success is stress and peer pressure. When we are stressed, we can't relax. When we can't relax, we can't focus or concentrate enough. And when we can't focus or concentrate, we don't get the desired results as the output. I'm pretty sure all of us have a garbage can in our houses, right? Where we dispose all of the garbage. But is there a garbage can for our mind where we can, just trash in all the stress we accumulate? The simple definition of stress is when we have a lot of work to do in a limited amount of time, with very little energy. Can the amount of work be reduced? Can I go to my principal and say, "Sir, I don't want to come to school 2 days a week"? Is that possible? No, right? Can I ask for more time in a day? Can I ask for more than 24 hours in a day just because I have more work? Is that possible? No. So what can definitely be worked upon here is our energy. Again, I would say breath is the key to eliminate stress out of our body so that our energy remains high throughout the day and we can work more productively and efficiently. Fun fact, 85% of our toxins are released when we breathe. Forget your Red Bull and other energy drinks. Your own breath is enough to keep you pumped throughout the day. Now, you're seeing, I'm mentioning this word, breath, a lot, isn't it? Now, most of you might say, we are breathing, it isn't making a difference. I would like to ask you, if you're breathing, are you in harmony with your own self right now? If not, you're not breathing the right way. By breaking the pattern of breath, by rhythmic breathing techniques and meditation, we can eliminate stress out of our bodies and achieve clarity of mind, which is so important. Some people can finish off their work much more faster than we do. Why is that so? Because they have clarity of mind. Let's say it takes 10 to 15 minutes to cycle from my house to a park nearby on a busy day when there's a lot of traffic. And when there's none, it hardly takes me 5 to 6 minutes. Now, the life skill which I feel each and every individual on this planet should know in order to be successful is meditation. Harnessing the power of breath and using it the right way is meditation. Can you believe just sitting in a corner and breathing for a few minutes can bring out so many positive changes in you? So why not give it a try? According to me, meditation is that tool which gives access to your mind like nothing else does. It is the key to open up our locked minds to a range of possibilities within us. Some people have a very outdated context of meditation. People think that meditation is become a Baba, go to the Himalayas and shut yourself out. When I myself told my parents and friends that I meditate, they laughed. But when I went through the process of meditation, it made so much more sense to me. If just this process of meditation can turn a lazy, unfocused individual like me to achieve clarity of mind and sincerity in action, then it can for you too. So whatever definition of success you might have, true success according to me is when you have inner peace and outer dynamism. It's that state when you're centered and stable from the inside so that you can do wonders and achieve excellence in the field of impact you've chosen. In this pandemic, when we are all locked up, we have nowhere to go. Why not take a deep dive within to see what's in store of our own beautiful self? I would like to conclude by saying, in order for you to open your eyes to this beautiful, magnificent and challenging world out there, you need to close them first. So I invite you to become ambassadors of success and ambassadors of peace yourself. Thank you and have a great day.
Tanujj, that was a wonderful speech. We are glad to have you this evening. This time we have a former student who has been an inspiration to many. Our next speaker is a recent high school graduate with a deep interest in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. But now he spends his days playing computer games and finishing Netflix catalogs. However, the quarantine has allowed him to ponder and realize how self-centered and obsessed our generation can be with social media, which makes it come off as a toxic place for engagement. This happens to be the topic of his speech today. With his ability to deliver humorous yet thought-provoking speeches, I'm sure each one of you will be all ears, for it is now time for welcoming Varun Shankar.
Picture this. You've just woken up. The first thing you do is grab your phone and check the time, where you see you've been bombarded with dozens of notifications. The first thing you do is open WhatsApp. You check your family group, where you're greeted a very good morning by a rather creepy image of a smiling baby. Or, for instance, a motivational quote by someone really famous, like this. Then you open Instagram or Facebook and endlessly scroll through memes, weird TikToks, and shower love on your friend's latest post, lest they think that if you don't do it, then you've ruined their life. Melanie, if you're watching this, let me take the opportunity to say, I'm not sure I vibe with your duck face. So please stop spamming me. I will not like your post. If this is how your day starts, then congratulations. You're one of 3.5 billion social media users across the world. To give you some context, that's half of the world's population or a regular day in a Mumbai local. So the plumber who came to fix a kitchen sink has a Facebook account. Your teacher, who you're probably making fun of on Instagram, they know what you're up to and they're on their way to ring up your parents. This is a place where you find heartbroken 12-year-olds reciting poetry about relationships, housewives finding their passion by posting cooking videos, and angry uncles ranting on Twitter after a rather heavy session of drinking. Social media has truly made the world a smaller place to live in. But let's look at the other side of the spectrum, the other 3.5 billion people. I'm sure we all know somebody who isn't into any form of social media. Let's say his name is Bob. If Bob was a South Asian teenager, he probably doesn't have an account because his parents took his phone away and are forcing him to prepare for some sort of entrance examination. For our story, however, let's just assume Bob is a grown adult who simply doesn't use social media because he doesn't want to. Now, Bob will tell us that the purposes and intentions of this platform aren't what they used to be, say, a decade ago. He will talk about how when you have people of different strata of society present on an equal platform, the consequential engagement is susceptible to a whole load of problems. The rest of us are completely annoyed by people like Bob because we know that their argument is absolutely correct, and yet we lack the discipline to stay away from it no matter how hard we try. We try doing this for a variety of reasons, one of them being peace of mind. So today, let's play devil's advocate and delve deeper into Bob's arguments. I'll try my best to sound super smart and make over-the-top hand gestures to be taken more seriously. The first aspect which contributes to the toxicity is our very own anxiety and insecurities. Our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter feeds can be a virtual representation of the society we live in. And what do we see? Pictures of friends having the perfect night out, people we know going someplace super fancy, like Switzerland, the south of France perhaps, or even the palm-lined streets of California. If you're in your mid-20s, chances are you've seen pictures of your friends and relatives marrying, settling down, conforming to social norms, and living happily ever after. If you're someone older in the audience, you can see older batchmates and co-workers boasting about how successful their children are. Weird how they all have a son working in Google or NASA. Wait, hold up, what can I hear? The sound of bitterness, envy, and jealousy. For many of us, these pictures and overtly exaggerated statuses and updates tend to incite a form of social comparison, which in turn breeds depression and demotivation. We start asking ourselves, what have I done with my life? Why wasn't I invited to this party? How boring is my life? It's a phenomenon called compare and despair, a source of self-consciousness which quickly develops into anxiety. The anxiety fuels our need for attention and pursuit of portraying ourselves in positive light. It then wires our brain into creating this persona on social media which we tend to self-edit to be the perfect version of ourselves. We stop being who we really are and in turn become someone whom we think other people will like. The most extreme version of this obsession is being cautious of our followers, likes, comments, or even begging other people to give us the validation that we oh so dearly crave. Allow me to demonstrate the issue we're talking about in terms of sheer numbers. An organization called Push On surveyed over 1,000 people across the UK to see if there's a correlation between social media usage and mental health. 57% of the people who participated in the survey have been diagnosed with anxiety and 55% with depression. Anxiety was especially high for 16 to 19-year-olds, with 56% of them having been diagnosed with it, and 41% of survivors felt that social media made them feel lonely. Now, I want to talk about myself for a second. I spent these million years of quarantine by simply scrolling through my Instagram feed, felt miserable about not being productive enough, and yet ended up finishing the Netflix catalog and kept playing Fortnite and Valorant. I was bored out of my mind. Some may say an empty mind is a devil's workshop, but it gave me an epiphany. No, not the festival, but something which Google calls a moment of sudden and great revelation or realization. Fancy word, and I want to share that with all of you. The epiphany is simply this: some people are way more successful than you. Some of these people may be elder to you, some younger to you, and some the same age as you. It may be because they're smarter than you, or they're complete idiots. It may be because they deserve it, or it was pure luck, their privilege. But on the other side, you are more successful than a lot of other people. You may be deserving of the success way more than other people, or maybe you don't. It was your luck and privilege. There are also people way more attractive than you, but you're also more attractive than a lot of other people due to a plethora of reasons like genetics, or the fact that they care about how they look way more than you do, or you care about your appearance way more than other people. Oh, and some people are richer than you, more knowledgeable, and simply way happier than you. And you are also more richer, knowledgeable, and happier than some other people. Look, the point of sharing my epiphany wasn't to give you a mixed bag of opinions to ponder upon. Rather, I want us all to be aware of our strengths, weaknesses, and have a realistic appraisal of our talents. People have different circumstances, so please stop the comparisons. The minute we stop being so insecure about ourselves, that's when real happiness begins. Social media, however, is not just a source of entertainment or where your friends post mirror selfies they take every time they go out. It has also become a platform for the voiceless and a poster boy for transparency and engagement. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook and the man pictured here wearing too much sunscreen, once said, "By giving people the power to share, we're making the world more transparent." And he couldn't be more correct. Major socio-political revolutions over the past decade, the Arab Spring, the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, Belarus, and Sudan, and the Me Too movement can all find their roots to deep, insightful discussions on social media. It has helped topple powerful people who were once thought to be untouchable by bridging the gap between them and the common man. Chances are, most of the general knowledge you and I possess today comes from some form of social or visual media. But amidst the many discussions that we have on this platform every day, the odds are we may not agree with each other on everything. And in an ideal world, that should be perfectly okay. Now, open Twitter. I'll wait. Okay, I just realized this is a pre-recorded conversation, so I assume you already have. You will have people disagreeing over everything from politics, religion, caste, and even TV shows. Oh my god, Friends is the best show in the world. Oh, Chandler, what a mood. If you don't think this is the best show, something is clearly wrong with your sense of humor. Okay, Karen, I get that you love the show, but stop eating my soul by forcing me to agree with your opinions. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most featherweight example I can give of how you're forced to agree to an opinion on social media. And if it's a more serious discussion with someone who sleeps in their mum's basement, you will be met with unsavory insults if you're not on the same page. And get ready for multiple tweets, Instagram stories with the same tweets, and attempts to shame you and pull you down by digging into your past. At this very instant, social media has lost its true intentions of being a simple platform for engagement. It has become one filled with hate and ignorance. Is there anything inherently wrong about listening to what the other person has to say and having a discussion without getting all defensive and be open? We don't need to respect a person's opinion, yeah? But we can certainly learn to respect another person's right to have an opinion, right? Some of you may not be convinced, but I want to demonstrate this point of mine with an example. Suppose I tell you a friend of mine broke his hand. Now, a lot of you in the audience would be tempted to sympathize and ask me if he's doing okay, because me conveying this piece of information means that everyone needs to sympathize with him. Now, what if I forced you to care and sympathize with him? Or what if I attacked you for not caring too much apart from a simple, I hope he's doing okay? You lot don't mean harm to anyone, but would you like it if someone orders you to feel in a way and they don't give you the choice? Now, what if you get to know that my friend broke his hand because he punched a stranger? You will feel that he deserved to get his hand broken. And now, what if I told you he punched the stranger because he tried stealing the purse of an elderly woman? Did I Christopher Nolan the hell out of you? Fun fact, I just knocked my headphones off. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that truth is multidimensional and it has different layers and context to it. Things aren't always black or white. Some can be grey too. So why should we force anyone to accept or agree with our narrative and take on situations? It's like how Batman says, if you kill a killer, the number of killers in the room remains the same. Have we truly achieved our original purpose of spreading our message by rubbing it over other people's faces by force at the cost of their mental health and yours? Now, of course, I'm not implying that we shouldn't express our opinions on social media. I'm not even implying that we shouldn't stand up for the right causes. But not all our fingers look the same. So, isn't it obvious that we might also think in different ways? Over the course of 2019 words, see what I did there? I have used the word social media as many times as you've heard a certain Karen in your life tell you how great of a show Friends is. I'm only the millionth TED speaker to talk about the evils of social media. But again, this speech wasn't an advisory on how you should deactivate all your social media accounts, go outside, smell the flowers, and do goat yoga. I'm also not attempting to whitewash and tell that I have never done all of those things I talked about earlier. I have, and chances are you have too. 2020 has certainly not been a great year. We've seen the worst and lost the people we love. But at times like these, the only thing which unites us is the hope that sometime in the future, we'll raise above the odds and stay sane in the meantime. We deserve a break, need to chill out for a bit, and accept the fact that not everyone's the same, and not get too self-absorbed. While most of us can't stay off social media, the least we could do is tailor a more positive experience for ourselves and others while we're on it. And the least I can do is hope for a world where people accept themselves and others for the way they are. In conclusion, relax, calm down, have some tea. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at KingfisherPapi. Hashtag like for like. Hashtag follow for follow. Hashtag. Thanks for hearing me rant and cheers.
Varun, you have been your usual wry self. That was a spectacular speech if I do say so myself. I'm sure listening closely to these wonderful people would have tired you all. But need not to worry because now we have a musical interlude to loosen you up. Gerald Praveen, a talented violinist from our school, is going to regale you with a scintillating performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him. Nothing could be more soothing on a warm evening, Jill. Now, before we start with our next speaker, we would like to express our gratitude. Thank you to each one of you viewers for tuning into this event. It means a lot to us, and we hope our efforts have paid off. We haven't come to the end of our program yet. To all of you wonderful people, we come back to welcome our next speaker. Born and raised in Perth, Australia, his love and passion for dance led him to the world-renowned Kalakshetra Institute, and now he continues to live in Chennai. As a Bharatanatyam soloist, he has performed extensively within India and across the world. He has even received critical acclaim, among them a noteworthy feature of Best Dance of 2017 in the New York Times. Today he shall delve into the relevance of Bharatanatyam in the 21st century and speak about finding oneself in this ancient dance form. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christopher Gurasamy.
I begin by acknowledging the hereditary artists throughout India and recognize the importance of their contribution to the form of dance that I speak about today. I pay my respects to their community, past, present, and emerging. My name is Christopher Gurasamy and I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer. And when I was 17 and finishing high school, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea what my future would be. Now, I remember when I received my high school certificate at graduation, Mrs. Petrina Rodriguez, the principal of Chisholm Catholic College, she handed it to me and she said, "You're going to dance your way through life." And in my head, I laughed and I said, "Yeah, right." Now look, I grew up in Perth, Western Australia, which is a very normal place. It's the world's most isolated capital. It's where the Swan River meets the Indian Ocean on the southwest coast. Its sunny beaches line its suburbs. I remember when I was 11 or 12 when our population hit 1 million people. Now, if you're like me and you grow up Indian, it's the kind of city where you go to school, get good grades, go to uni, get a job, meet someone, buy a house, have kids, watch a lot of football matches, and you grow old. It's a great place to grow up and a wonderful place to live, but somehow I knew that it wasn't always going to be the place for me. Now, in full disclosure, in school, I wasn't very good at maths or science or computers or spelling, but what I was really good at was painting, poetry, drawing, and dance. You know, the stuff that people constantly reminded me wouldn't make me easily successful. It was the path that was much less followed, and a very, very hard path at that. So I compartmentalized the arts and tried to figure out a way to follow the conventional. I thought I would become, I don't know, a nurse, or I'd work in a shop, or something. But I'd always danced. I've danced Bharatanatyam, I've danced jazz, tap, gymnastics, ballet. I even took it as a subject in high school. Now, my high school had this thing. If you were good at something, you had to do it. So I was told that I had to audition for Ballet University, WAPA, in Perth. I remember standing at the bar, raising my arm and thinking to myself, God, I absolutely hate this. And I think it was then that I thought, I wish I had the guts to go to Kalakshetra. Now, Kalakshetra is one of the most prestigious dance schools for Bharatanatyam in the world. The institute was founded in 1936 by Srimati Rukmini Devi Arundale in Chennai, India, as an international institution for the sharing of South Indian classical arts. It's an institution of national importance and has been infused with the work of great artists, dancers, and musicians. It played a major role in the establishment of the dance we know as Bharatanatyam today. So this is all happening in 2005, and the internet wasn't what it is now. And going to India to study dance seemed absolutely insane. So I sent a handwritten letter asking for an application form. I'm not 100% sure I wanted them to send one back, but they did 2 months later, and I filled it in and I sent it back by post, and I was given a date for an interview, and only after that interview would I be accepted as a student or not. So I thought I would at least try to go. So I wanted to go to this school. But I didn't know that being a dancer was an actual job. I didn't know how complex the form really was. I didn't know its history. I didn't know the music and the aesthetics. I didn't know about the annual December season. But what I did know was that I wanted to dance. I've always loved dance. Dance is still the reason I wake up most mornings. My mum, Carol, who is English, she was the first student of my paternal aunt, Srimati Jayalakshmi. My aunt was the first ever Singaporean to graduate from Kalakshetra in the 1960s. So my parents, they met through dance, the Nizam of Hyderabad, and a dinner party. Look, dance played its part, and yes, this is all still happening in Perth, Western Australia. So my mum and dad, they fell in love, they got married, and they had me. And my mum danced through her pregnancy, which means my dance education started -9 months of however old you think that I am. My mum took me with her when she joined classes again, and I never stopped going. Sorry, I've got enough topic. So, how do you try to go to an institution like Kalakshetra? Well, for one, I had an open ticket, which meant I could go to the airport and get onto the next available flight. So I had an escape route if I needed one. My parents were very, very open and kind of vocal about me coming home. I'm kind of sure my mum, in many ways, would have preferred just for me to be at home because she was always worried about me. And most of my families, they had bets on how long I would last. That ranged from a week to 3 months. So I knew I had to last at least a little bit longer than then. But spoiler alert, I've been in Chennai for 15 years now, so I won. The classes were just brutal. It was a different world. In Australia, everyone is told you can achieve if you try. However, in India, it was as hard as you try, it won't ever be good enough. But I use the word try because, quite honestly, I never knew if I could or would make it. But at least I gave it a shot. So I'm 18, I've moved to Chennai. Do I know Tamil? No. Did I see the campus before I joined? No. Did I have family or support in Chennai? No. Did I like Indian food? No. Suddenly I found myself living in a hostel where waking up at 7:30 on a Sunday morning was considered sleeping in. Cold water bucket baths in shower rooms with frogs in the corner. Washing 4-meter white dhotis, which had to be spotless by hand in buckets, was the absolute norm. Eating Indian food every day of every meal. Being 18 and having a curfew of 6 p.m. No TV, no internet, and definitely no air conditioning. I went from being one of the 5 Indian boys in my high school to being considered white in 2 relatively short flights. Living for dance was not what I had expected. In my first year of college, I got malaria not once, but twice. One time I had a UTI, a stomach infection, and I almost had to have my appendix removed all at the same time. I was sick every few days with a tummy upset, and every night I would pack my bags to leave. But my seniors, who were my role models and I aspired to be like, they would tell me it was too late to go to the airport, so they would take me the next day. So I would sleep, and somehow that next day would be a little bit easier and I would say I don't need to go. It was a really confusing 6 years. Yes, that's right, 6 years. And yes, I know I could have become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer in that time. But despite all of this, those years were some of the most happy years of my life. I remember being inspired by Leela Sampson, who was the director of Kalakshetra during my time at the Institute. The moment I met her, I was in just awe. She opened the school and in so many ways opened all of the students to a larger world of dance. Getting to watch Leelaka dance, watching and seeing which beautiful sari she wore each morning at prayer, learning with her when she would walk into our classes. I also remember hiding from her when we were bunking classes and sneaking off to the hostel and getting in trouble from her for jumping over fences. But besides that, in my 3rd year, I had the same teacher that my aunt had 40 years earlier, Srimati Pushpa Shankar. We had amazing performances to watch, from all over India and from sometimes around the world. Dancers I had seen in the few books in Bharatanatyam now leapt and danced in front of me. And even today when I meet some of them, I still get butterflies in my tummy. The excitement of being chosen to be part of the Kalakshetra dance dramas, even if it was holding a stick as guard number 2 for 20 minutes. And then there were the days that dancing just felt as good as breathing. We were exposed to literature, lectures, temple architecture, 4-day Kathakali festivals, 6-day music concerts, 10-day annual arts festivals, the dance dramas. It was the most beautiful world that we were all a part of. One of my favorite memories is from my first year and walking to watch performance in Besnagar Temple, which is about 1.5 kilometers away. And halfway through the show, the power cut. And while we were walking back, we got caught in the rain and we danced on the deserted Chennai streets at 8:30 p.m. And as we got drenched to the bone, my best friend Vasundhara, who is still my best friend, we laughed how one day we would tell our students how far we walked to watch a program and the hardships we braved by walking in the rain because we loved to watch dance. Our regular days at college, they went like this. We would wake up and go for prayer and breakfast at 7 a.m. in the dining hall, fully dressed. College at 8:30, starting under the beautiful banyan tree where they had prayers from all religions. Our classes other than dance were a mixture of vocal music, Sanskrit, Tamil, history, the theory of dance and Vedic heritage. At 10 a.m. we would have a 1.5-hour dance class with no fan in 40-degree heat with no breaks for water. Fun! We started our training from scratch, so it didn't matter if you'd been dancing Bharatanatyam for years or weeks or days. We all started at the very beginning. This was followed by lunch and then more classes from about 1 o'clock till 4. We'd have a small break, and on Wednesday and Friday we'd have this thing called bun and puff, which was a buttered bun and a puff, and it was the best. After 5 o'clock, we would return to college to practice for our own pleasure, chasing this idea of being perfect. But what does it mean to be perfect? Now in those days, to me it meant that I could sit in Aramandi, a plie type position, for the longest and the lowest. I could bend and lean the furthest and my lines were the cleanest. And by the time you're in your final year, you can make yourself the most amazingly perfect dancer, and quite frankly, I think I was one. So as I stood in my class, my first day of my final year, sweating, and I use the term loosely because it looked like someone had thrown a bucket of water all over me, that my teacher, he looked at me and he said, "Christopher, it's so perfect that it's boring. Do something." And my world fell apart. I thought I had wasted 5 years of my life, that it had all been for nothing. If perfect was boring, what was I? What could I do? I had spent 5 years crazed by this idea of being perfect. What did he mean? Despite all the crazy things that I had gone through, this was the thing that sent my world spinning. I was depressed for weeks. Later I came across this quote of a famous ballet dancer who had a profound impact on Srimati Rukmini Devi as well, Anna Pavlova. It said, "Master technique and then forget about it and be natural." Now look, I'm not saying that I've mastered technique at all, but I remember walking into class and I said to myself, let me try and enjoy what I'm doing. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. In chasing perfection, I had forgotten the joy, the happiness, and the love that I had for dance. And it almost felt like something clicked. A few weeks later, I, with so many of my teachers and peers, we performed at Sri Krishna Gana Sabha's Natyakala conference, a very prestigious event. I did a 5-minute piece, a very small bit of a piece, but I remember that I enjoyed every moment of it. I remember my dad, he ran up to me and hugged me and started laughing, and my mum was crying because she was so proud, and Leelaka gave me this approving nod, and I was just so confused. A man came up to me and told me that I had danced so well. That man was Sri Y. Prabhu sir, the chairman of the Sabha, and he invited me to dance as part of the Chennai season. my first ever concert as a soloist. And all I had done was dance. I'm so lucky that I've danced in Krishna Gana Sabha quite a few times, and when I do, there's always a sense of home because it's such a special place for me. After Kalakshetra, it's really where my journey started. And all I did was embrace the dance and not worry about being perfect or technique and just enjoying what I had worked so hard to do. I think what that quote translates to me today is work hard, try your hardest, and then when you get the opportunity, enjoy it. It's funny to think about it now. Now I realize that there is so much more to dance than perfection. Perfection has limitations, it's static. It's taken me a lot of thinking and a lot of people helping me see the light and go beyond perfection. Dance and this path that is less tread has taught me to be resilient, to face my problems head on. And I'm so lucky, I'm really, really lucky. Even though this journey hasn't always been easy, I've learned it's that when we fall over that we learn the most. Going to Kalakshetra was something I tried to do, and I fell over many, many, many times. But somehow I always picked myself up and kept going. And now, 15 years later, I'm still trying to be the best dancer I can be for myself. If I hadn't tried to go to Kalakshetra, I don't know what my life would be, and I can't imagine a life without dance at all. So go out and try, because you never know what can happen, and then enjoy what you're doing, because that will make it all so much more worth it. Who knew that my principal all those years ago would be right? Who knew that I would actually dance my way through life?
An interesting talk on a much admired dance form, part of the great Indian cultural heritage. Mr. Christopher, we are honored to have you at our event today. My time's up, so I request Samyukta to carry the baton henceforth. An interesting talk on a much admired dance form, part of the great Indian cultural heritage. Mr. Christopher, we are honored to have you at our event today. My time's up, so I request Samyukta to carry the baton henceforth.
We're halfway through our event and it has been awe-inspiring. However, our next speaker is as diverse as they come. She may seem shy at first, but then springs up revealing her true self. She looks forward to every new opportunity which she can utilize to share her thoughts and ideas with the world. Joining our conference today is yet another student from our school. Please welcome Sneha.
I have a problem. I have visited various doctors, different hospitals. My mom even made me spit into her handful of salt, trying her weird witchcraft to cure me. Nothing worked. Everybody has lost hope. And I need help. What am I diagnosed with, you might ask? Well, whenever I get any sort of task, I have this unnatural tendency where I glitch out and then I come back to consciousness one day before the due date of the task. Almost like an alter ego. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but that's not the point. Basically, I believe that my body, my mind, and my soul is programmed in a manner that it will find every possible opportunity to waste time. No, it's not just procrastination. This is serious. This is a curse that I inherited from my family. Her, my alter ego, she and I have our disagreements. Her name is Patricia, if you're wondering. And Patricia is not just a random procrastinator. She is a professional procrastinator. She is demotivated, she's lazy, she lollygags, and if not utterly hopeless. And it doesn't end there. Patricia is great at multitasking. She can waste time, be unproductive, and procrastinate all at once. And yet, she still does what she does with a passion. Want to know the extent of her passion? When Patricia had created a dictionary for procrastinators. Let me pick up a few vocabulary for you. First word, study. According to Google, study means the devotion of time and attention for gaining knowledge. Alright? But according to Patricia's dictionary for procrastinators, study means the act of texting, eating, and watching TV with an open textbook nearby. Next word, cleaning. According to Google, cleaning means the act of removing marks, stains or dust. Okay? But according to Patricia's dictionary, cleaning means shoving junk and trash in less obvious places like under the bed or in the cupboard. And since Patricia takes over my body, I have no choice other than to follow his ridiculous vocabulary. No, it's not my fault. Patricia has changed my outlook on life. I'm more immature and more careless now. She had taken over my life and I'm not normal anymore. And I did not know how bad I was until last year. Last year when I was actually in school, all these girls, productive, overachieving girls, would come up to me and be like, oh, I have to go home and I have to finish an extra worksheet for practice. Patricia and I had procrastinated to even find out the date of the exam. And I don't know what else to say other than, girl, just don't do it. No, you don't understand. I only got 99% last time. I'm such a loser. Honey, I got 99 problems and they're all due tomorrow. And you might be like, come on, you got yourself up to that point. Now it's your time to suffer in it. No, I disagree. The reason things like this always happen to me is because of Patricia's horrendous motto. Patricia's motto is that if tomorrow is not the due date, then today is not the due date. Patricia, I loathed her, I despised her, I hated the fact that my friends and family had to look down at me hopelessly. But then I wondered, is this really a disability? Is this really a disadvantage? Is this really a curse? And then I came to the conclusion, no, it's not. Now hear me out. Here's why. I began by asking myself, why do we procrastinate? And within seconds she answered, the fact that we procrastinate and still manage to get the job done is why we procrastinate. And when I thought about it, it's true. Because it doesn't matter how you squeeze the toothpaste, whether from the top or the bottom. What matters is if the toothpaste comes out or not, and it does. Similarly, it doesn't matter if I waste time or not. What matters is if I get the job done or not, and I always do. Now I also asked myself, what is procrastination anyway? So I googled it, and according to Google, it was delaying or postponing something or showing the act of laziness. I strongly disagree. I am extremely productive at doing irrelevant things, but that still counts. These are just a fraction of the reasons why I have decided to side with Patricia. She's a part of me, she is my ally. My parents, on the other hand, had come to the conclusion that I am delusional. My mom even started sticking cringy, inspirational Tumblr quotes on my walls. One of the posters said, hard work often pays off after time. Well, laziness pays off now. I'm not waiting for happiness. I want it now. Life's too short. And I'll stop being lazy when being lazy stops feeling good. Have you ever just clicked accept without reading the terms and conditions? Have you ever been lazy and procrastinated to get ready and then you didn't go to the event because you were late anyway? Have you ever dropped an ice cube and kicked it under the fridge? Do you know how good that feels? I'm not just about to stop it, call it whatever you want, lazy, procrastination, whatever it is. Another poster said, do your homework. Go back with iceberg. If anybody wants a bucket to throw up after hearing that, I understand. Go ahead, take your time. Also, I don't understand what she means because I love homework. It fascinates me. It's so beautiful and long that I sit and stare at it for hours. Give me 34 years to do homework and I still wouldn't do it until the night before. Why? Because why do the homework now when you can wait for a few hours so that you're older and therefore why for quick logic? So yeah, mom, Tumblr definitely won't fix this. And even though I absolutely did not want to, but hypothetically, if I wanted to fix this, how would I? And then I found it. The only way that I can stop procrastinating is if one by one my friends were killed every hour that I waste. But even then, which friend I'm ready to compromise? Okay, it depends. It depends. So yeah, I gave up trying to find a solution. I'll do it tomorrow. And even though I failed to find a solution, I did find something else along the way. Something way more interesting. A major theory, a scientific breakthrough. Here it is. Let me tell it to you. You can detect my level of productivity through my Google search history. Want to prove it to you? Here, let me see. Let me prove it to you. Let me read out my Google search history. What if I hired two detectives to follow each other? Do cows have best friends? Why isn't 11 pronounced 1T1? What if airplanes don't really fly and the windows inside are just TVs? What if cats have internet and it's full of pictures of us humans? What if... Okay, I'm not going to read that. So you get the point. With that, you can understand how productive I am, which is not productive at all. Where's my Nobel Prize? I just discovered something. I also discovered that my family is a bunch of hypocrites. I recently found out that this procrastination phenomenon runs in the family. I was born 2 weeks late. So I have shown signs of Patricia from a really young age. Don't blame me now. And unlike my family, I sure am proud of it. Why? Because who wouldn't like superpowers? And you might be wondering, what superpowers? Well, listen well. Patricia and I might only be able to do 30 minutes of work in 8 hours given. But we are able to do 8 hours of work in the last 30 minutes. Now, how cool is that? I've had many teachers come up to me and be like, this isn't some sort of assignment that you can do the night before. Ma'am, you're underestimating Patricia. You're underestimating the power of a procrastinator. Now listen well, there is no limits to what you can accomplish when you're supposed to do something else. This is something that I've noticed way too many times. For example, if I'm supposed to do something, Patricia distracts me and makes me do something else that is productive. For example, if I get an assignment, no, I won't pick up my pen. I go clean my house. I go tidy up my bookshelf, find my old birthday cards and cry about it. I start making everyone refreshments and chai. I start watching motivational videos to uplift my spirit. But here's the catch. Because at the end of the day, at the last moment, I still do the assignment. So when people with their lives together come up to me and brag, like, I started my assignment early with a focused mind and I did all the questions with the chakra of meditation flowing through my veins. And I finished early to have a clear mindset of like, oh, that's cute. That's cute and all. But I cleaned my apartment, had my refreshment, got entertainment, had my upliftment, and I did my assignment. You see, at the last moment, Patricia makes me focused. She makes me determined. She equips me to do the impossible in very less amounts of time in a panic-induced environment while I'm high on adrenaline. And most importantly, Patricia makes me happy. See, this is what I'm saying. Patricia is a gift. She is my superpower. So if you suffer from similar conditions, then let me tell you, there is hope for us. And to find it, you need to wake up your inner Patricia. He or she will bring out the best in you. And when they do appear and you start emitting your superpowers or procrastinating, own it, take pride in it, embrace it, and most importantly, don't forget to brag about it, which is why Patricia and I have an announcement. We are starting a company, and it is called the Powerpuff Girls. No, I'm joking, obviously. It is called the Procrastinator Union Federation, PUF, PUF, designed for procrastinators all over the world. How do I join? Well, easy. All you have to do is accept your inner procrastinator. We have been looked down for too long. Procrastinators, let's take over the world.
Your speech left us shaking in mirth, despite it being so thought-provoking. Moving on with our next speaker for today, who for some, I'm sure is a familiar face in the city of Abu Dhabi. She is a renowned, award-winning entrepreneur who is known for her social media work. Her social media presence began in 2013 in Abu Dhabi when she started involving herself in community work, helping people and connecting people simply through Facebook with issues ranging from mental health to... Her platforms are the most engaged in the capital of the United Arab Emirates for their transparency and her ability to connect to people of all backgrounds, making her the perfect speaker for today's event. Please welcome none other than Freya Jaffar.
When I was approached to do this talk, I was really surprised because I wondered what qualified me to do something like this. I felt I was just a regular mum on the other side of the phone. My struggles were not unique. My life was very ordinary, actually. I wasn't able to perceive what was going on the other side of the phone from my side. But of course, when you're approached for something like this, it's very hard to say no, especially when I felt I had so much to say. But I'm not a speaker, so I wondered how I was going to do this. How do I plan? How do I script this? And I'm not someone who can be scripted. And in the end, I thought, I'm going to do this the only way that I know how, and that is by simply speaking from the heart and being as honest as I can and telling you a little bit about my journey. So, my name is Freya Jaffar. I'm British Pakistani, and I've been living in the UAE for about 12 years now. And I'm a mum, so I live here with my family. So for as long as I can remember, I always felt like I struggled internally with culture, with what society expected of me at every phase of my life. Growing up as a married woman, as an older woman, as a mother, there were expectations that were not natural to me, and they were not bringing out the best of me. They were not bringing me happiness, and I didn't feel at peace or fulfilled in these ways. But I lived that path because I knew of nothing else. And like everyone else, the struggles were relatable. I faced bereavement, I faced heartbreak, there are money issues, betrayal. So these are things most people can identify with. But I was always very, very sensitive, and I'm the type of person who extracts and absorbs energy from whatever surrounds me, people, situations. So that was what eventually brought me metaphorically to my knees. I had completely run out of steam, and I had nowhere actually to go, to turn to. On the outside, my life looked perfect to everybody. You know, I had no reason to complain, but it was almost as if I was this shell, and I was just box ticking at every point. There was no me in the equation of life. It was always for someone else, for some reason, and living another way. So by talking today, I hope that there is a glimmer of hope for someone watching to see that if I can change it with my limitations, if I can pull myself out of something like this, then anyone can do it. So I'm going to start off to tell you a story about dal. Now, dal is a traditional South Asian food which is very, very cheap to eat, to make. Lentils, like lentil soup. So my earliest memory of, you could say, hopelessness is associated to this. When I was a child, like most homes, everyone has ups and downs, and I remember my parents faced a phase where it was very difficult financially. I remember we had a period where there was 11 days where there was only dal in the house. There was no food, there was not even an onion, there was not milk, there was nothing in the house. And I remember, you could add a cup of water to the lentils to kind of extend it, the quantity. And I remember those 11 days till now. I think I was 8 or 9 at the time when this happened. And it's not the dal as such I remember, but it's the humiliation and the hopelessness that my parents faced. They were completely lost, and it exposed me to a world very early on where when you have money and you're in a good position, everybody's your friend. But when you lose everything, there is nobody there to help you. You really are on your own. And I recall being so young, and I remember thinking that, I hate this feeling. I couldn't put into words at that age, but I knew that I hated that feeling and I never wanted to experience that again. And I kind of made a vow that if I ever get into a position where I can do anything to help someone, I will do that, because no one should feel this, and no one should see their loved ones experience this. So that feeling, that first feeling, being so sensitive and absorbing the energy around me, that was one of my earliest memories of when humans are literally down to rock bottom. So move forward up a little bit. Life happened. I went to school, college, got married, had children, box ticked everything more or less. And it's in this phase of my life where I faced the most difficult times, I would say, emotionally. It's when I experienced bereavement, deceit, postnatal depression, and I was now living in a country where I didn't have family. So I'd completely lost my way, and I recall that this was impacting me as a mother so much. I had switched off for almost 12 months. I think I hadn't said a word. I was just getting up, I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was just functioning. And when I realized that this is impacting me as a mother, as a parent, I knew things had to change. So now I was back, trapped in the days of dal. That hopelessness had come back. Life had somehow come back, grabbed me and just shook me and taken me back to that moment in time. And I realized suddenly I have to get myself out of this, from facing death to betrayal. There was only me who I could depend on. How was I going to do this? And I remember the exact moment that this journey on social media started. I had a newborn baby in my arms. I had other small children, and I had my mobile phone in my other hand. And as a new mom, you're always sort of feeding, so you're just sitting there. You have a huge amount of time on your hands, yet you're extremely physically busy. So my only window to the world was my mobile phone. So as I would feed my child, I would sit there scrolling through, trying to find some online support. I was ready to get the help. And back in those days, I'm talking sort of 8 years ago now, it was very difficult to find anything which was geared towards Abu Dhabi and Google. Google kind of failed Abu Dhabi in terms of real-time information. It was very difficult to come across accurate information for daily basis and things like that. So I figured social media might have an answer for me. So I went over to various platforms and I ended up on Facebook. Now, I thought there must be a group, surely, for something like this based in the capital of Abu Dhabi, and there wasn't anything like this. And I remember I sat there and I thought, I'm going to make a vehicle of support for myself, where I can solve my issues, ask my questions, pour my heart out, and find a network where I can help myself, where I can bring myself back. So I formed a Facebook group and I called it Abu Dhabi Q&A. And I added 70 people from my friends list, and they were people living here in Abu Dhabi. And it was useful in the beginning. There were questions and there were answers. That was the whole idea. You post a question and the members reply to the answers. And I wasn't sure when I was going to add my personal questions and then how I was going to do it, because these are my friends, and 50, 60, 70 of them. So when the group crossed, I think it was about 500 people, which is pretty quick, that was when I dropped the first dozen bombshells of anonymous posts, and they were all mine. And I remember just writing away under an anonymous post banner, pouring my heart out, telling my story, dividing my story up into multiple posts. And I did this over the course of a month or two. And it was so liberating. It was so liberating just to say whatever I could because these are the things I couldn't say to family, to friends. I felt humiliation again. I felt shame. I felt ungrateful for what people perceived I had, but I was struggling. So this just completely liberated me. And what I found was that people who were answering those posts and advising and offering support, some of them were my friends, only they didn't know it was me. So I remember just their replies were extremely heartwarming. They reduced me to tears, and I felt instantly better. I felt connected to them. I wish I could have said, it's me, but I didn't. So then what happened was this effect of the anonymous post just grew. People couldn't believe there was someone in Abu Dhabi who felt like this and who they could relate to. These were all the struggles that no one could talk to. It was hard. It was easier to talk to a stranger than it was to someone you knew. So somehow, by seeking help for myself, others came forward, and now the roles reversed. I was now helping other people, and suddenly I had this purpose in my day. I thought, okay, what is going on in the community today? I'm going to deal with this. And I became almost militant for 3 years, where the phone was attached to my body, literally. Anyone who knew me at the time will know I was just on my phone. I had 4 small children who are now growing up, but I was neck deep in community issues, from employment to mental health, to people feeling lonely, not having food on their table. It was just people were opening up with all sorts of stories of heartbreak, and they had completely absorbed me into their lives, telling me their stories. And I connected. I knew because of these feelings, going back to the story of when I was younger, and knowing what that feels like, absorbing this energy. And I didn't want other people to feel like that. And I felt if I could help just by listening or giving them my time, that's what I'm going to do, because that's all I really had. So my healing process started. I suddenly felt that I was enjoying this. It gave me direction. in my own little world. This is what I'm going to do. My problems were still there, but I now had somewhere else to look. I had a new direction, and I was distracted for a little while from the reality. So while I was distracted for a little while, the worldly veneer was slipping. I was now becoming myself. Everything I was online, I am online, is me. And I was finding purpose. I was finding happiness. And the voice that I kept hearing the last 2 years that kept telling me that everything I was, everything about my character that would carry no value in the world, would make, you can't survive in the world with these skills. I was suddenly relying on those skills, and I was making a small difference. I got to know myself by helping others, by being involved in the community. I suddenly knew my strengths. I knew what I was capable of. I started dreaming again. I felt like I could change things. And as the social media was a byproduct of the community work, I went along with it, and I decided to shift the focus on myself. And now I was seen, I was heard. I wasn't supposed to be culturally, but now I was everywhere because I wanted to carve out my own life. And in the process, I had to risk being misunderstood for the short term, where, I faced again situations of deceit, of being used, but I had to keep focused, and that was to help myself, to change my life, help other people change their lives, make a difference in the world, have a purpose in my life. I could not take my eyes off the ball, even if that meant removing people from the equation of that journey, because I couldn't let go of what I set out to do, what I'd poured the last 7 years into. So for the short term, it's a risk that sometimes you have to take to find your purpose, to prioritize yourself. So I had a little bit more work to do, and I finally found the strength and the courage to try and carve out my own life, where now I can become independent, financially independent, be an example to my children that you don't have to settle for second best. You just need your strength. You have to get to know yourself first. Once you know yourself and you know your capabilities, there's nothing that can stop you. And with all my limitations and without any money, starting from scratch and just going on my character and staying true to my word, being sincere and loyal, I managed to lift myself out of that quagmire that I felt I would just be in forever. And I hope that you take away a lesson where, that it's nothing extraordinary. It's the ordinary. It was the ordinary moments in the day that I wanted to fix. And those were my stepping stones. And now I'm in the third phase of my journey, where I have taken the decision to become independent, and I still have a long way to go. So I just want to end on saying that whatever your dreams are, don't forget them and keep hold of them, and get to know yourself. Get to know yourself, because we can do so many things. And I wish you all the best in that.
Thank you, Ms. Freya. I'm sure you've won many more admirers today. We have so many amazing and captivating speakers, which reminds me that our next speaker is equally well known. But first, not an ordinary boring break. Instead, we'd like to bring to you an exhilarating performance by a talented pianist. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet George Joby. Magical fingers, George. We are spellbound. Time flows so quickly, doesn't it? This brings us to just 3 more speakers for today. We would greatly like to appreciate what the viewers have to say of this event and what were the best moments according to you. We are truly thankful for your support and encouragement, and words can possibly not express our gratitude. Our next speaker for today is a former student of our school. Our next speaker for today is a student of the Georgia Institute of Technology who likes to push computers beyond its boundary. After spending a year in the emerging tech hub of the United States of America, Atlanta, he has developed a new perspective of the future of technology and how this is deeply connected to philosophy and human history. With his speech today, he aims to dive into the most popular buzzword used by tech investors, artificial intelligence, and wishes to expose you to a new way of looking at your computers and smartphones. Make way for Sharath.
An average person spends about 6 months of their life waiting in queues. As time has gone on, this wait has become a little less taxing on all of us. Most of us have the luxury of connecting to 1 million people all around the world, or in my case 5, while waiting for our avocado sandwiches. As we transition into the possible pinnacle of technology-enhanced living, we forget how much machines really help us and connect us. On the surface, it seems ridiculous, right? Like, why would I ever like to think of a tool, which is basically just a bunch of ones and zeros anyways, helping me live better? Like, that makes no sense. That's outrageous. Almost as outrageous as talking to the person in front of me in the queue. Now that I've mentioned that our devices have become the equivalent of social interaction, it begs a question. Do we need to treat our devices the same way that we used to treat people around us? I mean, they did replace the person in front of me or behind me. I don't talk to them anymore. I use my phone to talk to someone else. So, is my phone equal to the people around me? Now, I mean, before you guys ridicule me for being brainwashed by the meme culture that Generation Z has spewed, I would just like to remind you guys the number of times a few of us asked Siri what a number divided by 0 is, to the point where any human would have been so frustrated they would have just stopped working. Hey, Siri's listening, and she's gonna spare me. Just saying. Guys, I'm joking. Obviously not. Now, all jokes aside, artificial intelligence is no longer science fiction. It is science. I can implement a simple neural network that can do predictions within a couple hours. In fact, anybody with a bit of coding experience could, just following instructions online. And then we could use a much more advanced technique such as machine learning to make the model even better and predict stuff even faster with a higher accuracy. Now, computers are extremely good at predicting stuff and doing math, as I mentioned, but they fundamentally lack emotion, right? Well, there's something interesting called the Turing test, obviously named after the famous computer scientist Alan Turing, most renowned for his achievements in decoding the Enigma, which was a crucial turning point in World War II. He called it the imitation game, kind of like the Benedict Cumberbatch movie. Wait, actually, exactly like the Benedict Cumberbatch movie if you have ever gotten a chance to see it. So, in the Turing test, a human interacts with 2 entities, one of which is a system and the other one a human. So, the human interacting with these 2 entities have no idea which is which and would do this by using, let's say, a chat. If the human interacting with these 2 entities cannot tell which one is the machine and which one is the man, then that machine passes the Turing test. It is sort of like if you texted me and I wasn't really there, but you got responses and it seemed exactly like me because somebody was able to create a machine that is a better me. So now, if a machine was able to mimic exactly a human's actions, does that imply that the machine must have also been able to imitate the human's emotion? Not necessarily. In fact, most machines that pass the Turing test often have neutral conversations with the human administering the test, the human speaking to the machine and the man, and it does not really convey emotion. So this begs the question, where exactly is artificial intelligence heading? When used right, it can be the greatest gift to man since, let's say, fire. Now, obviously, many of you might think that's an over-exaggeration, but if we could handle menial tasks in the least amount of time, or even assign menial tasks to another person or another system, we can focus on things that are really important and tasks that require human intelligence with superhuman assistance. One of the other key features that we need to understand about artificial intelligence is its accuracy. If programmed once to do a particular operation, let's say a surgery, a machine can perform that surgery with such precision that very few surgeons renowned all around the world could do. Now, while there is a possibility of machine failure, with artificial intelligence and the proper training of certain models, this can be minimized to such an infinitesimally small amount that it wouldn't matter. Now, with all these benefits, you have to just wonder, is it wise to stop the development of AI just in the fear of all the cons? It has so many advantages, as I just mentioned, and it also has so many risks, like I talked about before. So now it comes to the question of the risk and the reward, and as a species, how much are we willing to sacrifice to reap the right reward? The consequences of brutal suppression is often dire, and history has several reminders that we can look to for guidance. For example, the Dark Ages in all of Europe slowed down the progress of humanity by a great deal. It took the Enlightenment for ideas to freely spread and prosper. Suppressing AI does not seem like the most wisest move, especially after all its advantages and all the problems that we're facing currently. The reasonable solution to propagating ideas, such as AI, where the reward is massive but the risk is also massive, would be through prudence and educating people about the whole story. You see, information that is not complete is the most dangerous thing that can be passed upon to society. And many a times, artificial intelligence is reduced to this buzzword, which is basically just used to attract investors and spread ideas that are subpar. I feel like I've seen at least 17 startups from Silicon Valley yesterday alone while browsing through LinkedIn that use artificial intelligence for solving a menial problem. The entire purpose of using advanced algorithms and trying to make a computer think like a human is to solve problems of that magnitude. Not to shop for your groceries, or, I don't know, do your laundry. Those are tasks that AI can automate, but should that be our main focus when it can do so much more? Now, the question of starting small and then expanding also comes into play, where one might argue that first we cover the menial tasks and then we ask AI to move on. But unfortunately, machines don't work that way. Any task, given the proper instructions and training, can be performed by a machine quite easily. Now this begs the question, why not train it to do the most advanced tasks first? Again, we need to find a good balance between the relatively simple tasks and the complex operations such as operating on a real life person, because the entire point of AI is to perform tasks efficiently and to automate the process in several cases, because most of the tasks that AI is expected to perform can be done by a human, but obviously taking more time and resources So now, where do we start? It's a funny question because I don't know the answer to that. It depends on you. Every person is entitled to his or her own opinion, and this is just one of those questions where you cannot start from either end of the spectrum, and a fine in between is quite hard to find. However, I am sure of one thing though. If we can look upon all the actions that our predecessors have taken, whenever a new idea comes into play and is tried to suppress, it just radicalizes the idea. Don't we have enough problems to worry about already? Climate change, global warming, that's one of the biggest problems that we face today. What if I told you that a computer can possibly make an impact on such a big problem? Yes, it can. It can calculate how exactly chemicals are released from, let's say, a factory, and how this can be reduced and how it can be controlled while maximizing the output of that factory. Problems like these require innovative solutions, and humans, the one thing, believe it or not, we're good at is innovating when we are in crisis. This whole pandemic has been an example of humans stepping up and taking responsibility. Some of us obviously have seen the better parts of it than others, but it just goes to show how far we can go if we cooperate as a species. Now, I would like to leave one question in your mind. At the beginning, I mentioned how treating a mobile phone or like a laptop with the equal respect as a person, however ridiculous it seems, would you rather have AI to be your friend than your foe? And this is not today when all it can do is follow instructions and recognize your voice. It is when AI starts actually thinking and possibly
well chosen and interesting to many of us. It really made me develop a new perspective of technology and its future. It was wonderful being with all of you here today.
Well, I don't know about you, Samyukta, but I am very tech savvy, and I was all ears to Sharath's speech. So thanks so much, Sharath, for providing us with such an intriguing and thought-provoking speech. Now, looks like it's time to bring up our last but one speaker. Our next speaker is a qualified chartered accountant who holds an MBA. He's also an upcoming entrepreneur and has co-founded 3 startups. He is a firm believer of the phrase, work hard but party harder. So his speech is centered around entrepreneurship and how it correlates with hope in more than one way. So welcome on screens, ladies and gentlemen, Karan Bhandari.
Good evening, guys. How are you guys doing? Great. Well, I was hoping to see you guys in person, but then this pandemic happened and here we are. My name is Karan Bhandari and I'm a really common guy like most of you are here today. Same school, same studies. Then you guys must be wondering what I'm doing on the TEDx platform. Well, let's start with this thing. What's the tagline for TEDx? Ideas worth spreading. So I'm definitely sure that your organizers must have liked my idea and that's why I'm here today. Well, to start with, what I'm going to talk about here today is something that will impact most of you guys. If not the 100%, I can say at least the 90 odd percent here. I'm not talking about those guys who are going to become the entrepreneurs or the influencers, but I'm talking about the rest of you who are going to end up in the most competitive world out there, the corporate world and the professional world. Well, yes, today my focus is on how I can convey the mentorship, how I can convey the message that I have learned across in my corporate career so that you guys get a leverage when you enter the corporate world. Well, once again, my name is Karan Bhandari. I'm 26 years old. I'm a chartered accountant and an MBA, and most of my career I have worked with one of the largest consulting companies in the world, and right now I'm heading the tax function at one of the largest public sector entities in the UAE. Now, why I chose this topic today? Like, take a chance from our school days. How many people you think actually become entrepreneurs or influencers? Few of them. Where do the rest of them go? To the corporate world. Few of us are introverts. We are not so open to talk into public, and we're closed. We like being closed. So where do we go? To the corporate world. So the majority of the people in the world go to the corporate world, and that's why it's one of the most competitive world out there. Well, today my focus is how do I convey the message that how you can excel in the corporate world. And by excel, I mean it's a pretty vague term. Excel is a pretty vague term, but what I'm trying to focus here is how do you grow in the corporate world, how do you climb the ladder in the corporate world, and lastly but not the least, how do you make sure you achieve that 7-digit salary package at the earliest. Well, corporate world in itself is a journey. It's not an overnight sensation, or it's not an overnight thing that happens. You learn, you fail, and that's how you grow upon. So sit back and relax as I take you through my corporate journey as well as my learnings, and we see what can you take out of this one. I'm going to be talking about 3 major things today. The first one, setting your goals right. You guys are the best stage of your life where you need to decide where do you want to end up being in your career, what do you want to end up at the end of your at the end of your studies, at the start of your career, where do you want to go? And the same was with me. What I wanted when I was in my 12th, I had decided that what I want to do is get my MBA from one of the best B schools and get a good high paying job. But then getting into MBA was easy, cracking a GMAT or a CAT and getting into the college, and then cracking the interview and getting into the job. But the thought struck me when I was thinking that whether I will be able to justify the job that I get into, because I had no previous experiences. I didn't think of any work experiences that I should go through before I get into the job. So then it struck me, what should I do? And that's when I ended up taking a CA course, the Chartered Accountancy course. Trust me, it was one of the best decisions I took out of my life. Well, I started my CA journey when I was in my 12th, and it took me almost 4.5 to 5 years to complete the CA course. But in the 4.5 years that I spent doing the CA, it turned me into a different man altogether. I had learned business skills, I had learned financial skills, but most of them, CA gave me 3 great life lessons. 3 life lessons I think which will remain with me for all throughout my life. The first thing, staying up without the help of caffeine. Well, because we used to study almost 18 hours, 16 hours a day. So at the time of exam, so that really gave me the learnings of how to stay awake without the help of caffeine, and just study and focus on what your goal is. The second thing, overcoming the failures. I think you guys must be knowing that the passing percentage in CA is like 3%, 5%, 7%, or sometimes max to max 10%. But then what do the rest of them do? Do they quit? Do they drop out? No. They focus, they study, and they try to come back, overcome the failures. And that's how CA gives you a different perspective in life on how to overcome the failures. And the third thing, this designation, CA Karan Bhandari, remains with me for my life. And I cannot be less thankful for that one. Well, the second most important thing is experiences. Actually, I would say this is the most important thing. Why? Because degrees help you to enter the job market. But when you have to climb the ladder or you have to jump the ladder, all that the other person cares about is what experience do you bring in. So trust me, the experience matters the most at the later part of your career. Now let's take this thing. Why do you think most of the job postings or the job advertisements have minimum work years of experience? Why? Because people have a tendency to believe that when you come from a certain place with certain years of experiences, you bring in the knowledge, you bring in the learnings, and that's what they are counting upon when they want to hire you or they want to work with you. So that's the power of experience. Let me bring an example of my internships days when we used to literally print 300, 400 pages of documents and stuff like that. I used to wonder that why have I joined such a huge company to print pages? But then those are the learnings that I got that still remain, because that waiting for those 400 pages to be printed to make sure they are in alignment when it goes to the client, the way we staple, the way that we punch in, it's also systematic. That is still there in me. Even if today I'm stapling a document, I have the same habit, and that's what experiences builds upon you. The second thing, learn from people's experiences. See, our journey is not our journey, but our journey is all. We have to keep a watch on other people also, because this world is cruel. So when other people are keeping a watch on you, you need to keep a watch on other people. You need to just not learn from your experiences, but you need to learn from people's experiences. You need to see what others are doing. You need to see what good they are doing than you, and you need to incorporate that in yourself. And that's what I'm trying to focus here in the second part, is learn from people's experiences, from your friends, from your relatives, from your colleagues, everyone. Just try to learn, take their experiences, make it as you have lived the experiences, so that you have that portion to quote somewhere when you are being asked upon. The last thing, confidence booster. Sometimes the corporate world gets boring. You're daily going on the same job, 8 to 5, coming back home and tired and stuff like that. So it kind of gets boring also. So what do? Quit one day and just leave? Few of them might do also, but most of them cannot, because we have commitments, we have responsibilities and other things in life. So what do? We need to keep our confidence rolling. And how do you do that? Is interviews. Yes, you heard it right. Interviews. As soon as you crack an interview, it gives you the confidence that yes, there is still a demand for you, there is still a need for you in the market, and nonetheless, if you do want to move, at least you still have a base to renegotiate at your current job. That boss, I'm getting a good package outside, either you give me a good salary here or I'm moving out there. So, don't take interviews as a negative thing. Take interviews as a confidence booster, and trust me, it works way well. To be frank, I give interviews every 3 to 6 months, once in a while. Why? Because, it keeps my confidence rolling. It keeps me searching, hunting for new opportunities, and you never know, it just makes me feel that, okay, I need to reevaluate my market value. I need to reevaluate what is the market demand for me. What is the market looking out for professionals like me? And when I see that I can crack an interview and I see the acceptance, it just makes my confidence more, going more confidently, moving more confidently into the market, that okay, the demand is there is a need. I need to be happy, I need to be confident when I'm performing at my job, and this is how I do it. And lastly, if you don't crack an interview, it is a learning. It is a learning that we still need more focus, more redesigning on ourselves, because we need to take the learnings from the recruiter or from the interviewer, that why did he not select us, what went missing, and take that learning into you, incorporate that into you, and trust me, the next time you will be able to crack the same interview what you were looking for. So don't take interviews as a challenge or a jinx, but try to take it more as a confidence booster, and trust me, you will be able to do wonders with it. So yeah, these are the few things that I wanted to convey to you guys, because this is the right age. You guys are getting out of school, you're going to get into colleges. These are the right times when you need to set your goals right. You need to decide upon what experiences you want to gain upon, where do you want to end up in your career, and what do you want to do in your career, what learnings from your experiences you need to take, and things like that. And lastly but not the least, keep your confidence rolling, guys, because that's what is going to keep you rolling in your life. That's about it from me. It was nice talking to you. Thanks for hearing me out. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
So, our next speaker is one who will surely bowl you over. His way with words make him a captivating speaker. Well, he is a friendly individual, and he's also inclined to ponder over questions big and small. His insatiable quest has led him to find answers to questions which we all commonly have but find very rarely answered. Today, he shall speak the truth over something which we all take for granted, namely perspective. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on your screens Tanmay Pawar.
Hi everyone, I am going to give a talk. I am going to give this talk today. Yeah, I am going to. Well, yes, that is not how I talk. And yeah, let me show you something as well. Well, you guys could see that, right? It reads 13.36 seconds, and what is so specific about this time is that it is the exact amount of time which you guys took to judge me. What I want to illustrate through this is how easy it is for us to fool ourselves. How easy it is for us to take our brain far, far, far away from the fact which is the truth. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and today I've gathered you all here to talk about an important skill of our life which most of us ignore all our lives. It is not that we do not have knowledge about it. We have plenty of knowledge about it. It's just that we don't realize its importance. Alright? So what I will do today is I will unfold this thing to you slowly, step by step. Okay? So coming to the point, today's topic is power of perception and images. Power of perception and images. Now when you hear this, you guys would ask, what does perception mean? Right? So if I say it in simple words, perception just means the way of looking at something. Or simply the way of receiving something is perception. Right? So let me explain this thing to you properly. Say, we all know what a circle is, right? It is a locus of points, a set of points equidistant from a given point, right? And that point is the center, right? And just think, at the center is the thing which you are looking at, or the thing which is meant to be perceived is at the center, all right? And you are standing on any one of those infinite points. There are infinite points in the circle, and you are standing on any one point. Right now, if I say I'm standing here, okay, from this point, say if I shift here, and this is the center, from here I shift here, right, what will happen is I will get a different angle of this thing which is there in the center, and each point will give me a different image, a different angle of the same thing which is there at the center. And this is perception. The ability to look at the same thing in hundreds, multiple, infinite ways is perception. And there are hundreds of factors on which perception depends. Some of them might be how recently we experienced something, or how many times it's happened, or if it had any emotional charge on it, anything. There are multiple factors. Alright, so before we proceed, I have an activity for you all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will tell you some words, and you guys have to create a mental image of it. And by mental image, what I mean is whatever comes to your brain when I say that word, right, just capture that moment. Okay, so let's begin. Right, just close your eyes, relax, and think of the words. Right, so the first word is book. B-O-O-K, book. Fine? Done? Hide your thoughts? Nice. Alright. Now, the second word is house. H-O-U-S-E, house. Think of it. What is coming to your brain? Alright? Done? Now come back. Okay? So when I say book, right? So we have a huge population who might be watching this talk right now. So for some of you, it might be a recipe book. For some of you, it might be an education book. For some of you, it might be just your favorite novel or your Harry Potter, anything, or some Dan Brown, right? For a mother, it would be a recipe book, for which she would make something for her kids. For a father, it might be a financial book. For a teacher, it might be a guidebook, or for a student, it might be some science book, math book. There is a huge variation in the responses that we get. Right? Same thing happens with house as well. When I say house, some of you might be thinking of a flat, some of you of a bungalow, some of you of a villa, or some of you of a tall building, or some of you just might be thinking your younger siblings throwing stuff around, or some of you might be thinking of your mom, or anything, yeah. But one thing that I notice is that we get a huge variation on the responses, right? And this is indicating something. What this is indicating is an important factor of our growth, that your automatic perceptions shape your reality, how you see yourself, your work, and your world. Right? In other words, we are all living in a story that we ourselves have created. And this has many real life implications as well. For example, you guys have heard of this placebo effect, right? Placebo effect. What this is that it is a doctor-patient thing in which the doctor gives you a pill which biologically does nothing to you, but it plays with your beliefs. It makes you change your perception. Right? What is it is the doctor just gives you a pill and says that this pill will work on you and it will do some biological process on you, whereas it literally does nothing. And you actually believe that, and you think that yes, I am getting repaired, I am getting rid of the sickness, and this very belief actually gets you rid of the disease. Cool, right? I know. And there are many such real life implications of the power of perception. It's just that we have to realize it. Right? And there are types of perception such as visual, auditory, olfactory, or haptic and gustatory. But we won't be discussing that here since this is not a science class, right? I don't want you all to die of boredom. But yes, what we will discuss is its effects and impacts. The effects and impacts of the way you perceive something. Alright, moving ahead, I am sure you guys have heard of the two brain system that we have. One is the fast, automatic one, it is very subconscious, right? And the other one is a slower, more deliberate, more conscious, right? Now you guys would ask, why do we have this fast system? And it's very simple actually. Why do you do something quickly? Right? It is because our brain is constantly 24/7 taking in information. Right now you're taking information from me. After some time I'll be taking information from my surroundings. Sometime we are always taking information. Right? And our working memory, which is basically how much thinking you can do at one time, is a very limited source. So what our brain does is it is lazy like us. Like say you guys have a phone, right? Everyone has a phone. So what do? On your home screen you keep app shortcuts, right? Why do you do that? That is because you want to cut down the amount of work that you have to do, right? Finding the app and all, you don't want to do that, so you create shortcuts. That is exactly what our brain does. It creates these shortcuts so that your thoughts become automatic, which cuts down the amount of work that your brain has to do. And yes, there comes a problem with this as well. How many of you know about the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? It says that of a fast moving particle, you cannot find momentum and the position of the particle simultaneously. That is what exactly happens in our life as well. When you are accurate, you cannot be fast. And when you are fast, you cannot be accurate. If you want to do something accurately, you have to be slow, more deliberate, you have to get deeper into it. And if you're doing something fast, you're just doing it, right? You don't care if it's accurate or not. So this is what exactly happens in your brain as well. Your fast thoughts are not that accurate, or maybe they are most probably wrong as well, right? So this is the very reason why we say don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge something so quickly. Get the right conditions. Engage in more slower. Get more deliberate. Think consciously. Spend time and then give your judgment. Not like the way you judged me at the starting of this talk. 13.36 seconds, that is how much time you took. What happened was you saw me performing in front of you, and then there was an image of incapable, scared, nervous person. And then you related to the image that you're seeing of me and that image, and your brain found it to be matching. And then it gave its judgment. Yes, the person you're seeing right now is an incapable, and who gave him the chance to talk in a TEDx, and what is he doing and what not came to your brain, right? So don't give your judgment like that. Dive in more, deeper, get to know, engage more time, and only then give your judgment. Now let's come to perceiving things inside of yourself. What I mean is perceiving some trait inside of you. Right? Perceiving some trait inside of you. And trust me, if you look at your inner self in the wrong way, it's going to cost you a lot. What we do is we are constantly finding faults inside of us. Right? We look at the negative traits inside of us. And we mispercept these things. These negative traits, what these negative traits do to us is that they demotivate us. And what this demotivation does is that it snatches the energy through which you could have actually got up and fought with the negative traits. Right, so this is a big problem, and yes, I've got the solution. But for that, you guys have to relax your mind, sit back on the chair, close your eyes, and give answers to these instructions. Okay, just follow the instructions, close your eyes, and then just feel that there is nothing around you. Right, just chill, relax. Alright, close your eyes, come on. Now answer these questions to yourself. Okay, think of a trait that you feel is negative. A trait which you feel is negative. Something which is constantly demotivating you. When you look at it, you just lose your mind. Think of that trait. That is exactly what you're finding for. Now ask yourself, how has this negative trait served you well? Yes. In what way is it a positive force in your life? Just think it that way. Come on, change your perception. Change, come on. Now, find out how you can begin to shift your understanding of that perceived negative to find more confidence, more inspiration, and find out how you can channelize it to such a way that from where you will receive more motivation and new hopes. Just think it that way. Come on, change your perception, change your position on the circle. Come on, guys. Think of it that way. This is the last question which you have to answer. Think this thing. Take your time. Alright, everyone done? Okay, now come back. Come back, slowly come back. Right? Fine. Well, that's what I had for today. And keep asking these questions to yourself and see the change that you feel in yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, when your perception shifts, your story shifts. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, what an amazing way to end the event. Tanmay, thanks so much for joining us today and to hold forth on something that more than often tends to elude all of our grasps. Now that all the speakers are done delivering their speeches and having spoken about their thoughts over various topics, it's time for us to move on to the musical performance. There'll be an amazing musical performance by not one, but two musicians. It'll be a drum and a guitar mashup, which will surely leave you totally speechless because of how amazing it will be. It highlights the true potential carried by our drummer, Sarthak, and our guitarist, Maulik. Now that was a spectacular performance by you, Sarthak and Maulik. And it was definitely worth the wait. But unfortunately, this is the end of our event today. It has been a pleasure to host the event for you along with Aniket, Ashish, Aditi and Samyukta. Now, it is very satisfying to finally see an event for which you have worked so tirelessly and hard for the last 3 months finally come to a magnificent end. Thank you.
I agree, Raman. It has indeed been a pleasure to organize this event and host it with you.
With that said, the first ever online TEDx event in Abu Dhabi comes to an end. It was indeed a fun ride with all of you this evening. This just goes to the show that, even in the wake of a pandemic, we are still able to organize captivating event, to which we only hope that you all must have found satisfactory, if not impactful. Appreciation is much required for the team behind this project. We would like to thank everyone who have helped us to put this event into motion. Our teachers, parents, friends and family, including our hardworking and dedicated team. Feel free to learn more about them on our website. We also hope that this event was successful in instilling a feeling of hopefulness in your hearts. Hence, I'm sure after today's speech, you all must have learned that hope truly is a passion for those who believe anything is possible.
Well worded, Aditi. With that being said, we shall now conclude the event, thanking everyone who was involved. We hope to have an event of a bigger grandeur next year, hopefully.
Stay safe, everyone. Take good care. Good night.